Hey, it's Dan Charles with Cannabis News, and we're going to do our weekly cannabis stocks report. Let's start where we have the last couple weeks with the ETF, the Cannabis Stocks ETF, HMMJ. Now, I said right here on October 6th that we were topping out and it would probably pull back. Well, as you can see, it did just do that. It did pull up on the Friday, but I would not consider this a re-entry point at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the top list on the marijuanaindex.com. We're just going to go through some of these top ones. So we'll start with Canopy Growth. All right, so here's Canopy Growth, and here was the 6th where I figured we were definitely topping out on the Canadian cannabis stocks after a huge September month, very bullish, but nothing goes up forever, and just the range of movement looked like it was due for a pullback. So it went up a little bit more and then hit that resistance, and then it did in fact pull back. You can see there's some support on the moving averages after hitting this 1170 low on Thursday. Did pull up here. So obviously Canopy Growth is poised to be one of the top cannabis stocks, definitely in Canada, but possibly North America. So, but me personally, I'm not going to be a buyer in this stock here. This could be the pullback, the signal to get back in to ride it up for the next leg up. I'd want to see what happens on Monday first. A lot of people would take this as the signal to get back in this pattern. It's the classic breakout pullback and then take a position. I'd wait one more day if I was even going to look to get back in or get in at all. Let's look at ACB, Aurora Cannabis. All right, so here is ACB, and after topping out on the 6th, see this actually hit strong resistance at the high of $3.19, and it's pulled back quite a bit. It even broke this support level of 275, and it even broke down this low of 269 on the Tuesday. So this just kind of going range bound, just sideways here, up, down, up, down, up. It's not when you want to be taking a position. You want to make sure it starts breaking out and continues the uptrend before you consider a re-entry. Next, we're going to look at Med Relief. This is one I did not look at the last couple weeks, so let's add in a new one. Symbol is LEAF. Okay, so I have yet to look at this one. Let's look at that 6th. So if we were analyzing this on the 6th, this just started breaking out on the 5th. This was actually the breakout. This was the signal to get in. You would actually be entering on the 6th. So of course I just added this to my my list, and this would be the selling area right here on the 13th. Anytime you get a long upper wick like this after a pretty large move up, that's usually there's going to be some selling and it's going to pull back. Right now it's just going sideways and it's trying to determine whether it's going to continue the uptrend or consolidate, go sideways for a bit, or pull back. So I'd want to see more of a confirmation on this one as well. I'd want to see a breakout on Monday and a continuation And then you can look to get back in and ride this back up for the next move up. But it's still too early. Let's look at APH, Afria. This is a stock we have looked at in the last couple of weeks. Okay, so here is the 6th where I said we were topping out. Did go a little bit higher and gap down on some bad news this past week in the cannabis sector. And this is not, I would want to see this really breaking out and continuing the uptrend before I'd consider re-entering the stock either or getting into this stock. Like I said in previous videos, these are the entry points. This is an entry point. This is an entry point. This is a signal to enter. This is a signal to enter. You're going to enter here, and this is a signal to enter. You're going to enter on this candle. This, you can see this pattern. It certainly doesn't look like the examples I just pointed out. So I'm going to keep going. Sprott Inc. This is one I just added in. SII is the signal, or is the symbol, sorry. Let's try to find this here. Okay, so SII, we got a market cap of 516 million. That is on the TSX. That is in Canadian. $2.12 is the price. Now this stock is just going sideways. You can see here very clearly. It's just in this little range here. So it needs to really break out of this range, this break above 224 before I would even look at something like this. It's actually more trending down of late, but it is still in this this choppy sideways range. So that's nothing exciting to look at. Let's look at MJN, which is another stock we have looked at in the last couple weeks. Okay, so here was the 6th where I did say I figured it was topping out, and just because all the ETF and every other Canadian stock looked toppy. Obviously this broke out and continued the uptrend, and then just this past week it did pull back because there was some bad news. You can see the resistance at the high at 342, this little red line here. So on the Wednesday, price couldn't break. It closed at exactly that resistance level of 342 and then gapped down on the Thursday open. So now it's just kind of a waiting game. It does look like there's some support at $3. You're often going to find support or resistance on whole numbers, $3 being the whole number. So if price breaks below that $3 level, it could definitely keep dropping. So if you own the stock, definitely watch that $3 level. Very, very important. Let's look at Organigram, OGI. I should point out, like I pointed out in my previous videos, I don't own any cannabis stocks right now. I did really, really well in 2014 when they first started popping up on the US, mostly the OTC cannabis stocks, and then in 2016 I was ready. I knew that the cannabis stocks were going to pop based on the election play. All the different states in the US legalizing, I knew there was going to be a big pop, so I was ready for that. Did well, pulled completely out of the cannabis sector. I trade everything. I'm into other large cap stocks, currencies, commodities, and indexes. So my money's very, very tied up. And so right now I'm just doing this analysis for fun, basically. I would get back in, but if I see the right signal. Um, but I'm actually more interested in the U.S. stocks because they're so cheap right now. Eventually they'll turn around, but the Canadian ones are the hotter sector, and that's mostly because in Canada, cannabis is being legalized next summer. I believe July 1st, 2018. Recreational cannabis is going to be legal, and Canopy Growth, the symbol weed, is going to be one of the largest suppliers of cannabis in Canada. And that's why it's the leader and it's got an over $2 billion market cap. All right, so this is OGI. Let's look at, okay, so this is where I said it was topping out on the 6th. Hit resistance, $3.08. It actually broke that resistance, but then found more resistance at the high of 317, and then it pulled back. So sometimes when you think the market's going to pull back or it's hitting highs, it may go a little bit higher, but then eventually it's going to do this. So my analysis is pretty dead on, except for the leader, which was Canopy Growth that I just talked about. That did kept going past that the 6th of November. Let's look at two more actually. We'll look at this Supreme Pharmaceuticals. I just added a new one. Symbol is fire. All right, here we are here, fire. I believe this trades on the venture. Yes, this is on the venture, so this is the lower TSX. The TSX is the higher board in Canada. The TSX Venture is where like more of the penny type stocks are. Kind of like in the US, you have the NASDAQ, and then you got the OTC. The TSX Venture would be like the OTC. So let's take a look at the 6th. All right, so here's the 6th. Now this looked like the signal was on the 5th year. This is like it's starting to break out, but then you can see the resistance. The high of $1.64, hit it 3 times, hit this resistance. The more time it hits resistance, the more reliable it's going to pull back. So it did pull back quite a bit. Now there's definitely some support on these moving averages here, but this did pull back quite a bit. So a healthy pullback is usually only anywhere from 1 to 3 red candles, and then usually you're going to get a pullback and the next move up. Anytime you see a lot more red, that can usually mean the start of a trend down, because it'll switch from a look like this where it's going to pull up. So it might have 3 greens and then it's going to start the downtrend. Whereas in a move like this, where you're breaking out, you're going sideways, and then you break out again for the next move up, usually you're going to, it would have already broke out again for the next move up. So I would wait on this one as well. I said one more. Let's look at CMed, which is Canamed Therapeutics, and that is symbol CMED. All right, so here is the 6th, where I said, I mean, this was such a big move, and anytime you get a large, rangy candle, usually you're not going to get too many of those without a significant pullback. In fact, in my trading strategy, I'm looking to enter on a smaller rangy candle, like a certain breakout, like this is the signal. Even this is the signal right here because you're getting support. So I'd want to enter either here or I'm going to enter here, and I'm going to be looking to exit soon after a long rangy candle. Almost guaranteed you're going to pull back. You're not going to keep going up at this rate forever. It's going to need to go sideways, consolidate, pull back, and then you look for your re-entry. All right, so that is my analysis for the week. It is October 21st, Saturday. So have a good week trading.